many of you in the audience today. When I thought about what I wanted to talk to all of you about today, it was really about the story of Florida and how Florida led. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Moms for Liberty in case you don't know how we started. So I'm a mom of 4 kids and a wife. And in 2016, I decided to run for school board in Indian River County, Florida. Do we have anybody from Indian River County in the audience right now? Beautiful. And so I was interested in trying to help schools. My own children's school was in a state of disrepair. We had hallways that were flooding, and there were kids that were in my kids' classrooms who had wet shoes. And they'd come to school the next day, and they'd have wet shoes the next day, too. And I said, you know, this isn't right. My kids had 2 pairs of shoes, but it's got to be hard, right, to sit in a classroom and try to learn with stinky, wet shoes. And so I worked with a local organization to do some work around a sneaker exchange. But then I also said, I'm going to try to get this school fixed. So I got a bunch of moms and dads together, and we rallied. And we got that school fixed, which was an amazing experience as parents, right? But along that journey, I had asked the principal, well, why don't you go to the district? And she said, oh, no, the district doesn't like when you ask them questions. And I said, oh, well, you know, I don't care if the district likes me. I'll ask them a bunch of questions, right? And so we did. But the other thing I learned, it wasn't just the school and the physical state of the school that was an issue, but there were a lot of kids at that school that weren't learning to read. Specifically, a lot of black children that weren't learning to read. Only about a quarter of the black kids in 3rd grade were reading on grade level. And that was being masked. That issue wasn't being addressed, and it needed to be. And so I decided I would run for school board to try to create some awareness. 1 county up from me in Brevard County, Florida, Tina Descovich. Do we have any Brevard County folks in the audience today? There you go. Tina Descovich was making the same decision to serve in local office. It wasn't anything she had ever done before, but she had been volunteering in her kids' schools, and she thought to herself, wow, you know what, maybe I can make a difference here. Maybe I could get involved. I know I'm a mom, but maybe I could get involved and make a difference. And so she ran and won. And this parallel journey happened where Tina and I were both serving on school boards. We didn't know each other, but we were experiencing and seeing a lot of the same things in the schools, a lot of the indoctrination, right? A lot of the lack of focus on education. And we became concerned about those things. And so COVID happens, and the world stops. I still remember March 13th, I was standing in the school district office, and we got the notice that schools were going to be shut down. School districts are a lot like a cruise ship. They don't start easily, they don't stop easily. And I just remember it felt like somebody punched me in the stomach. I thought, gosh, this isn't going to be good. This isn't good for kids. And right about that same time, same day, Tina in Brevard County said she had the same feeling. And now, having done the work of Moms for Liberty, I speak to people all over the country and all over the world who knew in that moment that lockdowns and mandates were not the way forward. Tina and I watched each other on boards, Brevard and Indian River County, losing votes, 4-1 votes, 4-1 votes to keep masks on kids, right? To force lockdowns and mandates, stripping parents of their parental rights. Tina tells a story of a mom who came forward standing at the podium nervous, and she said, you know, I have a medical exemption for my child. You're not taking my medical exemption for my child, but my daughter is deaf. And she has limited vision in one of her eyes. And when she wears the mask and she has glasses on, anybody who wears glasses knows, right? Your glasses fog. And that just fell on deaf ears. And so we saw school districts, government schools, who had always worked to try to make accommodations for students completely turn their backs on parents. Our terms ended in November of 2020, and Tina and I met up in December. We weren't friends, as I said. We didn't even know each other really. But Tina came to me and she said, you fought really hard. I've been fighting really hard. We've got to find a way forward out of this. We have to help parents to have their voices heard. The unions have an undue influence in our children's education, and we'll talk about that in a second. And we decided to start Moms for Liberty, and the mission statement that we wrote that December is the same mission statement that we have today. The mission statement of Moms for Liberty is to unify, educate, and empower parents to defend their parental rights at all levels of government. So July 6th, Governor DeSantis comes out. He says, we're reopening schools. That was very unique, right? Yep, absolutely. Round of applause. Florida led. Governor DeSantis led in that moment. And parents, again, tried to have their voices heard, right? They were coming forward. They were being shut down. You remember all the mics were being shut off, right? Citizen input was changing. All of a sudden, it wasn't going to be in the main part of the meeting. It was going to be before. Or there was going to be a lottery system. Or your time to talk went down from 3 minutes to 1 minute. And American parents got angry and mad, and we wanted to help them to be effective advocates, to know how to make change happen, because we know we're not special, right? I'm a mom who loves her kids and loves her country and wants to help move this nation forward. And there are millions of moms just like me and just like Tina and our members. That's right, all over the country. Moms for Liberty was set up by county. That's how we started. We thought we would just start in Florida and see how it went. That plan went quickly south because in 2 weeks after starting the first 2 chapters of Moms for Liberty with moms who had been standing on the other side of the dais advocating for their children when we were on school board, we got a request from Nassau County, New York. Any New Yorkers? I know we have a lot of New Yorkers who are Floridians now, right? Yeah. And we got a call from Nassau County, and if you have family in New York, you know the lockdowns were brutal there. And they were facing possibly a vaccine mandate for children, and we knew that was wrong. And so Tina called me and she said, we've got a request from New York. What do you think? And I just remember saying, you know, Tina, this isn't ours. How do we say no? Right? We have to help these moms. And so we opened a Nassau County chapter within 2 weeks. That's right, for such a time as this. And then we opened the next county that wanted to join was Anne Arundel County, Maryland. And from that, some Maryland people, wonderful. From that, Moms for Liberty really just exploded like wildfire all over the United States of America. We now have over 300 chapters in 48 states, with over 130,000 members, real members, not an email list, real members that are working, that are having their voices heard, that are becoming effective advocates. I know you know and you hear about them because they're everywhere all the time, right? And it's really been wonderful. Our chapters are set up, as I said, by county. We have a chapter chair, a vice chair, a secretary, a treasurer, and a voting block of that chapter if you're curious about how those chapters create such amazing positive change. And now what we've found is that as the chapters were getting together and growing in counties, they naturally wanted to come together at the state level to advocate for policies. One of the things during COVID I think all of us learned and understood was we wanted to know who holds the authority for this decision, right? This is a really crummy decision that's happening. Who holds the authority for that decision, because I want to talk to them, right? And there were some things we could fix at the school board level, but there are some things that need to be fixed at the state level. And so these chapters have come together in legislative committees, and Florida has been an amazing leader when it comes to policy. For 2 years, yes, please, clap for Florida, clap for your legislators. Absolutely. They have done amazing work. We got a Parents' Bill of Rights passed that recognized that parents have the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children. That includes their education, their medical care, their morality, their religion. We have states all over the country that use the Florida bill as a model. You should be very proud of that. It's absolutely wonderful. We've continued to build upon that Parents' Bill of Rights with parental rights and education laws, stopping gender instruction and sexual orientation instruction in grades K through 3 and then continuing through grade 12. Thank goodness. I did an interview with 60 Minutes the other day. That should air soon. That should be interesting. And I asked the reporter, I said, is it really that shocking to you that parents would want to be the ones to have a conversation with their children about how babies are made? It's really that simple, right? The least interesting thing about an elementary school student should be their sexual orientation. These are not groundbreaking things I'm saying. This is common sense that we as Americans know, but it's time for people to start speaking out and saying things that make sense again in A few other policy notes in Florida that have happened. We had the Stop Woke Act, universal school choice so that parents can truly direct the upbringing and education of their children. Absolutely clapped for that. Wonderful, wonderful. And we are seeing an explosion of school choice opportunities around the United States of America. I see my good friend Erica Donald sitting in the front row, Optima Ed, doing wonderful work in the classical charter school space. And opportunities like that are blossoming all over the state and all over the country. We also have term limits for district school board members now. I'm going to clap for that one. For too long, we have had people that have made a career out of running and sitting on school boards. They have been there forever, and they have deeply entrenched relationships. And while being on a school board is not supposed to be an adversarial relationship, you certainly need to understand that that superintendent, staff, work for you as a school board member. And as a school board member, you work for the people, your constituents, right? We also have been able to lead the country in a vetting process for librarians and for books. I didn't bring any books with me, so everyone can relax. I'm not going to read any porn to you today. I can't say the same thing for 60 minutes. When I sat down with that gentleman and he wanted to talk about the books, I pulled out a big stack. Tina started laughing. I just kept pulling the books out, and I read things to him that made me blush, to be honest with you, but we did it. Yep. And we've also worked to be able to understand and make sure that girls are safe in their private spaces and respected on their sports teams. The wonderful thing, again, Florida leads, we've been able to take this policy and legislation and bring it all over the country, right? 27 bills passed, helped in 7 different states that our moms have helped to pass based on these existing policies in Florida. What a wonderful way to lead America forward. Speaking of the rest of the country, let's talk about California for a second, if I could. What happens in California does not stay in California. It is not Vegas. And I have no doubt that Gavin Newsom would very much like to be the President of the United States of America. Boo. I'm going to run through quickly just a little juxtaposition here so you understand some of the laws that are being proposed in Florida. They'd like for parents to lose custody of their children if they're not willing to confirm the child's want to change their gender. That's right. Minors can consent to counseling without parents. There was a bill that wanted to prevent local control. They wanted the State Board of Education to have to approve whatever a local board wanted to do when it came to books in schools. They want to mandate the HPV vaccine for public and private school students, require insurance companies to cover abortions and trans treatments, and they have an indoctrination program of professional development around LGBTQ issues for teachers in California. America doesn't want this, right? We did some national polling. In fact, over 70% of Americans, both Democrats and Republicans, do not want this in our schools or in our nation, so we must have our voices heard. They are trying to do everything to stop the voices of parents. They called us domestic terrorists. We had the FBI call one of our moms in her home one day. Do you have any guns in your home? Do you have a history of mental health illness? Oh, and by the way, don't tell anyone we called. That is not the America that we know and love. There is no compromise here. The SPLC has designated us an anti-government extremist hate group. Moms for Liberty, moms. This is the face, apparently, of anti-government extremism, right? They don't like our ideology. They don't like our ideology. They don't want us to have our voices heard, and they're working very hard to silence us. But let me tell you this, there is no compromise when it comes to our children. Either they win or we do, and we are going to win. So I thought a little bit in closing to just chat with you about what can the Republican Party do? What can you do as members of the party, as Floridians? What can you do every day in your lives to help with this mission to protect children in America? Number one, you can run for local office. It's probably one of the most important things that you could ever do in your life. Run for local office. If you don't want to run for local office, find somebody who wants to run for local office and help to support them. Give them money, give them time, give them effort. And if you don't think you're the right person to run for local office, you know what? I didn't either. But yet here I am, standing on a stage with presidential candidates and influential policymakers, and we are making a difference in America. We need to create the space for people to join us. There are a lot of people in the United States of America that are waking up right now. They feel politically homeless. A lot of the people that they've supported, the party they've supported for a long time, is no longer doing the work that they respect and isn't listening to their voices. Let's make room for these people. People have the ability to change their minds. Everyone has a line. People's lines are being crossed every day. Let's make sure we're creating the space for them to join us in this movement based on the foundational principles of America: faith, family, freedom. And the last thing I'll say to you is this: support the disruption. There are a lot of people that are going to try to tell you that Matt Gaetz, Byron Donalds, other people that are shaking things up, right, that they're not really doing it for the right reasons, or somehow they're creating a problem, it's chaos, things aren't going well. You know what I know from working in a school district for 4 years? The administration doesn't like the disruption. The establishment doesn't like the disruption. That's why you should want it more. I'm so incredibly proud to lead this organization at Moms for Liberty. We have such amazing members who are making such a wonderful difference. If you don't know where your chapter is, go to our website, momsforliberty.org. There's a big map. Click, see if we have a chapter in your county. If we don't, please click to start one. There are people that are waiting for your bravery and for your courage. And my commitment and my promise to you is this: we are going to fight like hell for America, with a smile on our face, because we are joyful warriors and our children are watching. We will save this country for our kids. Thank you.